Good evening, everyone. They're lovely faces to look at, for at least for our group tonight. So hi, everybody. My name is Ginny, and I'm with Anderson's Bookshops, and we're so excited to welcome you to this virtual event tonight with Margaret Josephs in conversation with Dave Quinn. We're really glad to have both of our authors and our speakers tonight, as well as all of you joining us on this lovely Friday night, hopefully wherever you are, it is lovely weather as well. Here in Chicago, it is not too bad. We can't complain. Thanks for taking the time to keep your eyes on another set of screens for our event tonight. For those of you who aren't familiar with us, Anderson's is an independent bookstore outside Chicago. We've been owned and run by the Anderson family for going on 6 generations now. So we're very proud of our history and our communication, involvement with the community, and support is very personal. It means a lot to us. So we just like to say thank you, to take a minute to say thank you for that. Normally we would be hosting Margaret in person and having a big grand old time, along with over 400 other events that we normally do in a year. But hopefully this virtual style will tide us over till we can all be together again. Hopefully soon. Get your vaccinations, everybody. This is not the same, but it is the best we can do right now, and we're really glad that we can do that. We do have lots of other virtual events on our calendar for all ages, interests, and topics. So do check out our website, andersonsbookshop.com, or all of our social media to find the next one for you. A couple of things coming up. We have Johnny Sun next week. We have Nigella Lawson next week. For those of you who love a good thriller read, soon to be coming to a small screen near you, Mary Kubica is going to be with us. She's actually from Naperville, so we count her as one of our hometown authors. So lots of great stuff coming up. So check that out. But tonight we're so excited to be talking about what has to be one of the most fun titled books we've had all year. Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget, of which you are all getting a signed copy starting next week when we get those shipped out. And we're going to have a conversation here with Margaret and Dave. So Margaret and Dave, thank you so much for being here.
Great. Thanks for having us. Thank you, Ginny. So excited to be here.
I want to give your official bios because you both have so much more going on than I think most people really know about. So I'm going to read the official thing so you can feel fully introduced. Margaret Josephs, of course, is a TV personality, fashion designer, entrepreneur, and lifestyle expert. Best known to the public as a breakout fan favorite on Bravo's hit series, The Real Housewives of New Jersey, which she joined in 2017. In 1999, she launched her lifestyle brand Macbeth Collection from her kitchen table. It has since grown into a global business empire, including sister brands Candy Couture by Margaret Josephs, House Candy by Margaret Josephs, and the eponymous Margaret Josephs clothing line, introduced in 2019 for the 20th anniversary of the Macbeth Collection. That's exciting. Congratulations. And she, of course, lives in New Jersey with her husband. And joining us tonight, Dave Quinn is an entertainment journalist who has been covering all facets of the industry, including reality TV for publications like People Magazine and Entertainment Weekly. He lives in Brooklyn, New York, and is also hard at work on his own first book, which is due out this October. So that's very exciting. Yes, welcome, everybody.
Thank you so much for having us. And Marge, I am so happy to be here. Ginny, thank you for having us.
I'm so happy to be here.
And I came prepared. If you guys have read the book, and when you read the book, I have Margaret's breakfast of choice, a cup of coffee and some Oreos.
Yes. And when you read the book, that's what I've been drinking, coffee since the age of 4 and having Oreos. Marcy, you're very unconventional.
That's fantastic. Well, as we go along, if anybody has questions, you can throw those up in the chat, but I'm going to turn it over to you guys. And I think we're going to have a great conversation here.
Yes, we are.
Thank you so much. And Marge, I'm so thrilled to be with you today to discuss this book, Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget, in which you really open up about your life as the child of a single mom, your journey through career challenges and destructive relationships, and how you ultimately took the cards you were dealt and turned them into a winning hand. I love the book because it gave such incredible insight to who you are on the show, the housewife that we've all kind of come to love through The Real Housewives in New Jersey. And you've become a close friend of mine who I adore so much. So personally, I was just so happy to be able to hold this and see it. It must have felt a big relief when you got to look at that first copy.
Yes, it was a big relief. And I said, I wrote the book now because everybody does know me from the show. And though you know me more intimately and know some of my stories and behind the show, everybody knows about 25% of my life, but I didn't get on the show till I was 49. There's a lot of things I don't reveal on the show that I keep private. One of them being that I do have a natural born son, which most people don't know, that I had with my ex-husband, Jan. He's 25 now. And we are very, very close. And that's a big thing. And I'm also growing up with Marge Sr. in the 70s, a single mom, which was not common then. Sexual harassment that I faced in the workplace, starting my business at the kitchen table, making millions, losing millions, pulling myself back together, the lawsuits. I think there's a lot of great business advice. So it was time to write it because there was just so much more to know. And so many fans write to me and say to me, Marge, how did this happen? Or I'm in a bad marriage. How do I handle that? Or even the simplest things of like, who's your plastic surgeon? Or how did you start your business? So it was time to write it now, Dave.
And I'm so glad that you did. I mean, you open up a lot in this book about, it's very revealing. I read a lot of celebrity memoirs, and I have to say, I put it up there with all of the best. And I'm not just blowing smoke. I would tell you the truth if I didn't.
Thank you. No, I know that you would. And I feel so flattered and honored that you say that, because I think some people just like to sugarcoat their life. And I said, I'm not going to write, it had to be the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I think we're all human, and that's what makes us relatable. And I think it's a story about inspiration, resilience, and there's something in there that everybody could relate to. Everybody's faced heartache. Everybody's done something they're not proud of. Everybody's felt shame. But everybody's had great moments and happy times. And maybe you've been in a bad relationship or whatever it is, or unhealthy things have happened to you. But it's about a comeback story, and that if I could do it, you could do it too. I mean, I'm not from the Lucky Sperm Club.
I know, of course. And you've worked really hard to get where you are. You know, you talk a lot about your childhood in the book. And there, as somebody who watched every episode of this show, I've always seen you and Marge Sr., this close friendship between the two of you, this close bond. I was shocked to see right there in the top of that first chapter, you write, I never really had a childhood. I felt that I was put on this earth to protect my mother and just be her friend, rather than experience what it was like to be a little girl. If I'm being honest, I don't really know what it's like to have a mother. I've never had one.
It's true. And I did say that. And though Marge Singer and I are so close, I've never felt like I had a mother. We were really best friends from the time I was a little girl. I knew too much as a child. Marge Singer overshared with me. But when I look back now, and after years of therapy, my mother had me when she was 20 years old, and she became a single mother by the time she was 22 years old. That's the age of someone graduating college. So the way she handled motherhood was, she came from immigrant parents. She was an immigrant herself. And my grandmother was very strict, not as loving and attentive. So I think my mother wanted the opposite. Like, I'm going to tell my daughter everything. I'm going to share everything with her. We're going to be best friends. Because I think she didn't have the right combination with her mother. And I think it just went a little overboard. I always felt very loved and everything, but I never felt very safe.
That's so interesting. And I think you write also later on that her way of giving you attention was to shower you with everything that she thought you wanted, but what you were really looking for was stability. How did you kind of break that cycle? Because it's difficult, right? If you're growing up in that space, how did you break that cycle for yourself?
I think it is true. It's just like I wrote about our endless shopping trips, and, she showed me a lot of love with, beautiful things. And I know she was so attentive, and she only wanted good things for me, things that she didn't get to have as a little girl. And I know she had the best intentions, but truly what you need in life, a therapist told me this once, you want to be safe, you want to be seen, and you want to feel special. And the most important things are those things, like, am I safe? Do I feel like the rug's not going to be pulled out from under me? And I think when you know too much as a child, though you feel like you want to know everything and be nosy and be included, there's certain things you have to be protected from, because you're so vulnerable and you don't understand adult things. And they can make you nervous and frightened. And I think that's what had happened to me, because I knew too much. I just was exposed to a little bit too much. And I think it can happen very easily and people don't realize it.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Dave. No, and I want to say, and I knew not to do that with my children. You have to protect them from certain things. You don't want your kids to grow up too fast. And I made sure that I didn't do that same.
How did Marge Sr. take some of this revelations in the book? Because you really do pull back the curtain on, the experience that you have with her. Was it hard for her to read it from your perspective?
I think she knows my perspective because we've discussed it so much. Marge Singer is such a strong woman, and we have such a close bonded relationship. And she, I think it was hard for her to read it. Of course, it made her cry. It also made her laugh. There were some great stories where skinny dipping in the pool. She forgot about that. She took her entire party skinny dipping in the pool at our townhouse complex. You know what? She's such a supportive mother. She was like, you know what, Margaret, this is what happened. This is a story. It's true. I'm so sorry these things happen, but you're such a strong, amazing woman for it. So you just write what you need to write. She's the best supportive woman ever.
I adore her as well. And there are some shocking stories. There's a story where she gets shot at once that I was like, what?
I know. Do you believe that story? That you guys are going to have to read that. It's crazy that she's on a date and someone tries to shoot her. It's a little crazy.
It's a little crazy at that. Tell me about the decision. What I love that you do in the book is you end every chapter with a life lesson or two, something that you learned from the experience. What kind of, was behind the decision to do that?
I think because I said the book is a guide to life and business. And at every part in my life, when I was looking back at it, I really learned different lessons. And I really analyzed my life and said, I feel like I've lived 5 lives already by my age. And at what point did I learn different things that pushed me forward to have a different chapter in my life? And what did I learn from those things? Because listen, shitty things happen to everybody, right? And beautiful things happen to me. But what was my takeaway? And I think there's always a takeaway and something to be learned. And I always want to learn something. So I said, let me put in these life lessons, because I do feel I can teach people things from what has happened to me. Don't make some of the mistakes I made. I'm not a victim of my circumstance. And one of my favorite lessons in the book is you're not responsible what happens to you in your childhood, but you are responsible as an adult to fix it.
Yes, 100% yes. Yes. I say that all the time. We're responsible to kind of fix our mental health issues that we have, but we all kind of come with trauma from our childhood, and we need to address that. And I loved that lesson.
Yes, I think it's super important. I think a lot of people are like, oh, I can't succeed because this happened to me when I was young, or I have trauma from this. Well, we couldn't prevent those traumas, and I understand it, but it's our job to fix it and not bring it forward to anybody else, and just work it through, because we don't need that to hold us back.
One of the biggest life lessons in the book really comes from a lot of pain. And now, before we talk about this topic, I just want to warn everyone that it may be triggering for some of you out there who have been the victim or have dealt with this issue before. And I want to tread lightly, but you really open up in the book about a sexual assault that you received by the hand of 2 of your bosses, it seems like, who kind of pressured you into having sex with them. You talked about this a little bit on the show as well this season. I know it's a difficult topic for you. How did it feel kind of revisiting such hard times?
It was funny. I blocked it out for so long. I just compartmentalized it. And it was so common then that some of my friends had reached out to me even after they saw it on the show, who knew about it. And they were like, it's so crazy that anybody would even question you about it. But it was the Garment Center. It was Russian hooker nights at the job I worked at. It was just very common. It was like, not only would I lose my job, I'd be blackballed from my industry. They would be like, everybody calls each other around town. And it would happen at the next company. So it was just like, I was intimidated. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to handle it. I think I was in shock. And I was like, if I just do this and get it over with, I'm pressured into it, it'll go away and I'll never think about it again. And it was very upsetting and awkward. And when I explained it on the show, I just gave a little tidbit of it. And I explained it that night at dinner. And it was just a little preview into what was to come. And later I think next week, you guys on the show I read the excerpt from the book. And also, something unfortunately happened to me when I was a little girl that made me a little bit afraid of men, and didn't know how to handle myself, even though I'm so strong and I come across as so strong, even when I was younger. When I got around men, I did get a little bit nervous. I got a little like, what do I do? What do I say if I didn't want to do something? And yeah, it was uncomfortable. And I needed to share that. It's a conversation that needs to be had. And thank God there's a Me Too movement and women have spoken up, but women have been meant to feel shame. Men have been meant to feel shame. This is happening all sections, men, women, the LGBTQ community so many times, and everybody's been afraid to speak up about it. Now that we can speak about it, it's important. And these are conversations that need to be had.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you had them. It's you write about it not being so far along away from rather the Me Too era that, back then this sort of thing was just happening. You talk about your boss saying to you, "What's wrong? We're working together. I'm single. I can make your life very easy." And I can see how intimidating, how difficult that must have been for a young girl.
Yeah, he was also 20 years older than me. And I did point out he was handsome. So, he acted like he was so suave. It was like I was new to my job and it was a position of power over me. And I was like, what do I do here? It's so awkward. What am I going to say? Why would anybody believe me? I didn't even tell my own mother at the time. She didn't even know up until she read the book.
Wow.
I felt gross. You are made to feel gross. And that's what happened.
It's interesting because on Housewives, we're so used to conflicts being about, who wasn't invited to a party or petty things like throwing a cake. And yet this has become a bit of a vehicle for conflict between you and your castmates. Is that hard for you to think about the fact that anybody would question what you were going through?
I think it's some people just don't understand. And I think it shows that even now, that people don't understand what women go through. And I think it's, other women questioning me, women that are my friends, I could not relate to them. Anybody in a position of power over someone in any capacity, an authoritative figure can intimidate someone, and that's taking advantage. And that's a form of harassment. If anybody feels uncomfortable, especially a young girl and a young man or whoever it is in feeling vulnerable. And if I said I was uncomfortable and why I did it, and to pass comments like that, and especially people who have daughters and children, and it was very upsetting. And I think and I'm glad that it was on the show, that it's a conversation we had. But listen, do I think people accuse people and call it sexual harassment when it's not? Absolutely. There's also those, and that they were insinuating that is even more upsetting, knowing me, because I don't use it as a weapon. I never bring up my past as like, oh, this happened to me, that happened to me. No, I put it in there just to say, this has happened. This has happened in my life, how I've handled it, and how I move forward.
Well, I just want to say, I know it was years and years ago, but I'm so sorry that happened to you. My heart broke for you in those moments. Nobody deserves to be treated like that. And
thank you.
My hope is that by speaking out about it, other people who read this will understand you better and also maybe find some healing from their own situations that they may have.
Yes. And I agree. And to speak to their daughters and speak to their sons and speak to everybody that, you can say something and not to feel shame, and it's not your fault.
Yeah. Well, I found the genesis, to take a little bit of a turn, of your relationship with Jan really fascinating. We, of course, saw Jan on the show. You guys met when you were 24 and he was 44. Did I get that right?
I was 24 and he was 44.
And the part that I read about that shocked me was that he's just 1 year older than your mother.
1 year younger than Marge Sr. Marge Sr. is just 1 year older than him. Is that not crazy?
That's crazy. You went from taking care of your mother to taking care of your husband in the same sort of way.
I know, Dave. It's unbelievable. I think people don't realize that. And that we were married for 20 years.
20 years. That you paid for your own wedding.
Yes, I paid for my own wedding. He had money and he didn't want a wedding. And because he already had a wedding and custody of 3 children. I just want to add in. He had custody of 3 children. And I was young. I packed my bags. I moved to Tenafly, New Jersey. And I did that. And I wanted the fairy tale wedding. I was like, I'm getting married. And he was like, we're only having 1 kid. I was like, okay. I felt like I was like acquiescent. But again, I was madly in love with him. I was like, okay. And I wanted this glamorous wedding. And he's like, well, you work, you make a lot of money. I don't want a big wedding. You pay for it. And I was like, okay. And I had a 10-piece band and I made all this money, because the truth is at that point, I was doing very well in the garment center. Marge Sr., I was like, I felt stupid. I was like, I'm going to take money from my mother, who is like, has been single her whole life, supporting us and supporting me. And I'm marrying this guy the same age as her. And I'm going to ask her to pay for my, it's weird. And I was just like, all right, I'll pay for it because I live with Jen. But how weird is that? Like, I didn't even know to advocate for myself and say, this is not correct.
Right. Of course. Yeah. That's, is there anything that you spent on your wedding that you wish you hadn't?
No, everything about it was perfect. Even to this day, I do want to add in, like I wrote in the book, my in-laws were so super generous and showered us with everything. And they were the best in-laws in the entire universe. So afterwards, they were just so generous and they made up for that part. But that's the whole point. I didn't know as a young bride, I just went into a situation that I didn't know how to advocate for myself in a relationship, even the right way.
Do you still have that wedding dress?
I do.
Really?
I do. Mm-hmm. I doubt I could fit into it. And I doubt I could fit into it, but I still have that wedding dress in a box upstairs.
Oh my God. What did it look like?
It was gold. It was beautiful. It was like very vintage Hollywood. It was nude underneath with gold lace with a tiny bit of stones on it. And the skirt was like a shimmer tulle, just it was rose taft. I remember I bought it at Kleinfeld's. I went to Kleinfeld's with my head designer, Vicky Ferrara. We went, Marge Sr. didn't even come with me. I don't even know why she didn't even come with me. I just went on a Saturday to Kleinfeld's. I remember at the time it was very expensive at the time, that I remember. And I called Jan. I was like, this dress he paid for half the dress. I don't want to totally throw him under the bus. Half the dress. Thank you.
Half the dress. Well, I'm glad that you still have it. You got to pull it out of storage one day and take a photo of it.
Yes, there's pictures in the book of me in that dress.
That's right. I do remember one that I saw. Your hair was like pulled back. You looked gorgeous.
Thank you. Platinum. Still very blonde. Still very blonde.
That's not changing.
Never.
You go into a lot of detail about your marriage in the book. Obviously, the bumps along the way, many which corresponded with the growing of your business, Macbeth Collection. And you open up about the ending of it and the affair you had that kind of led to that with your now husband, Joe.
Yes.
Talk about kind of walking down that path and reliving those memories. Again, cannot believe that you got so, I think, real and so detailed and vulnerable with all of us in that.
I think it was just so reliving that part of my life, because just reliving anything with my ex-husband, we're such good friends, and I do love him madly. We're much better friends. And my kids, and meeting Joe and everything, the unraveling. That was so hard to write that part of the book. I mean, I cried for weeks, and it's still very painful to discuss that. But I do believe, and sometimes I think this, would everything have happened if Jan and I didn't work together? Would we have unraveled this way? I do believe I was meant to be with Joe, and he was sent to me. I mean, I say it in the book, I would pray at night, dear God, please, can I find someone who's kind, gentle, loves me, makes me feel safe, wants to be with me. I really felt at the time that Jan didn't want to be with me. I would dance with everybody else's husband and my girlfriends at a bar mitzvah. I would beg him. And I know it wasn't just about dancing at bar mitzvah. I'm using that just as an example. I felt like I was handed on a silver platter to someone else. A dissolution of a marriage does not happen in one day because a man walks into your house, and I fell in love with Joe. This was over a course of years. Yeah, I think when you read the book, you'll realize it.
Yeah, you say like no one leaves a happy marriage.
No one leaves a happy marriage. And it's not like someone could come into your house and sweep you off your feet. That's not the way it happened. Things already were down the tubes, but we had such an amazing family, which I say in the book, and my children and everything else. But my older children were up and out. My youngest son was still home, but he was always away at sleep, programs in the summer, traveling, and the dissolution of our marriage, it was over a course of years, the unraveling, working together, the stress, my father-in-law dying. And it really was, we changed, we were different people, and it was unfortunate. And then, Joe walked into the house and we had a friendship. It was a slow burn.
Right. And Joe wasn't, I know you open up very honestly about he wasn't the only affair that you had had.
No. I mean, well, the other one was a fling. I would call it a affair. That was right before Joe.
You're right.
It was with someone famous. It was a rock star. That's a fun little story. Though I had someone write to me on social media today. How could you out that person? That's so shaming to him. I go, shaming to him? What? I go, it was the dream come true for me. I got to sleep with someone from my high school band that I was obsessed with. It was a one night thing, people. It was a groupie moment.
Did it feel like the first time?
Felt like the first time. And it was very hot-blooded, if that's a hint to anybody what's in the book.
For those of you who don't know, when Margaret met Jan, he had 3 kids. You mentioned that before. A daughter, Tori, who's 8, and 2 boys, Dean, 14, and Brett, 16. I know those are not their real names.
That's not the real names. Brett's the real name because he's been on the show with me. My other kids, that's not their real names.
And you were, again, 24 years old at the time. You went from nightclubs to PTA clubs.
Yes.
Very big, different life. Then you had your own son named Cooper, or named in the book Cooper.
Yes.
But after your divorce, you really opened up about how 2 of Jan's kids, 2 of the kids that you shared with Jan, really struggled so much with the affair that they stopped speaking with you and the estrangement there. I thought it was very honest. You took a lot of responsibility for your own actions in that matter. And I was very tearful because I know that it was painful to write that.
It was painful. And there's collateral damage in any decision, especially when people are getting divorced. It could be not having an affair. It could be any kind of situation. And Jan and I are so on the same page, amazing co-parents. And I never in a million years, that one thing, for whatever it was, defined me in their eyes. I think they felt abandoned. They weren't little. They were grown adults. One was in their late 20s, one was in their 30s, early 30s, out of the house. And I was, to this day, things are a little bit better with Dean, especially texting, writing. I was heartbroken. Devastated, physically ill. And I just couldn't imagine, because they were my everything, my whole life. And my son, my Cooper, we are the closest ever. We spend so much time together. Obviously, he's always lived with me. He doesn't live in the state currently, and he's so close with his father, and his half siblings are, they spend all their time together as well. So I always say, at least my children are all happy and successful. I did a great job, and that's what I'm happy about.
It probably isn't easy that you're on television too now with Joe. That probably makes it a little bit harder, I would assume.
Yes.
Is that a factor?
I think I know they watch. I know Jan watches every week. He calls me every single week. Come on, Marge, is that really happening? Yeah, that's bullshit. He watched with the psychic the other week. He loved that the psychic was on the other week, and I had my father-in-law on there. I'm sure it doesn't help. I think Dean finds me extremely entertaining. I think Tori probably wants to kill me. But they know who I am.
Yeah.
And no matter what, if they called me, I could start crying now. If they called me right now, I'd get on a plane, I'd take the red eye, I'd do whatever I had to do.
Well, let's move away from that. I don't want
Yes. No. But listen, that's what it is. I think I open up in the book about every part of my life.
Yeah, I appreciate that about you. You also write a lot about business, obviously. You write a lot about the origins of Macbeth Collection, which you say you started at the kitchen table. We learn about the ups and downs that running that business has had. You talk about the lawsuits. You really go into the financial issues. But you also talk a lot about, the imposter syndrome that you had and that you really battled. I think it's in chapter 15. And I know this is something, you have a podcast also of the same name of your book where you talk a lot about business, but tell me about battling that imposter syndrome. I struggle with it every day, so I'm here to take tips.
Yes. I think a lot of people don't know what imposter syndrome is. And imposter syndrome is when you feel, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this success. Is this really me? I didn't achieve this. People are going to find out I'm really not this successful, even though you are successful. It's, and people think it stems from insecurity. It's actually the exact opposite. That's why you work so hard and strive more to prove to yourself you are successful. So where insecurity prevents you from being successful, imposter syndrome drives you to be successful. And they say CEOs of company have imposter syndrome more than anybody else. True successful people have imposter syndrome, and like, oh, someone's going to find out I'm really not so fabulous. So I always felt like I didn't achieve enough. I was at the top of my game. Listen, I was in Walmart. We were doing $10 million a year. Now I got a small percentage of that, but that was just on headphones and iPhone cases. And I was making a killing, and I was in St. Bart's renting villas. And I always felt like I was at, supposed to be sitting at the little kid table. I was like, what am I doing here? Am I really, flying on a small plane, doing this, that, I'm not somebody who would ever post of doing, even on social media. My son was always like, don't post. It's inappropriate. You don't stick things in people's faces. And I am very big with like, you don't eat lobster in front of a homeless man kind of mentality. I was like, I always felt like, do I deserve this? And I'm sure you feel so, like you've achieved so much. You just wrote a book. I just wrote a book. I'm like, oh, you want to take a picture with me? Oh my God, who am I? Where some people, so I think a lot of successful people feel that way. And it's, do I deserve this? And I think and so it's very hard to enjoy your achievements. So you're always trying to achieve the next thing. So it's about slowing down in the moment and reveling in the moment. And I have to learn to do that. And I've worked on trying to do that and be like, wow, this is good. This is good enough. I've done a lot. This is amazing. Let me enjoy it. And I think you too, Dave, and anybody who's achieved any success that has brought you success and what your success is, I think we have to realize we deserve it. It is a big deal, and, enjoy it. And I think a lot of people suffer from that, but I think it's like taking a moment and really realizing, yes, it is a big deal.
It's that inner saboteur. It comes out when you least expect it. I named mine. I named her Ashley with 2 E's. Constantly texting, and she rarely looks at me, and she'll say, you look ugly today, or you're stupid today. And I'm like, Ashley, what are you doing here? Get out of here, Ashley. You have to get rid of it.
But it's also what drives people forward to be driven and successful. And what keeps me, I redid this book. I worked with a collaborator, a ghostwriter who was very good, and she worked with me, but I didn't feel like it was perfect, and it wasn't my voice, and I wasn't happy totally at first. And I was like, I could not underdeliver ever. And I could not dial something in. And it doesn't matter if I'm getting paid or not paid or whatever it is, I could never present myself in a bad light. And sometimes it's very draining. And I think a lot of people suffer from that.
Yeah.
I wish certain people did suffer from it, because people underdeliver. And I'm like, what are you doing?
Well, tell me about that.
Yeah, we know that.
What I would give to have delusions of grandeur, what I would give to just be completely self-unaware. I would live for that.
I know. For one day.
For one day at least. Yeah. All right. I want to get into Housewives because I have a lot of questions, and you write about the Housewives in the book.
Yes. I definitely write about the Housewives.
I can't stand when I read memoirs from reality stars or other stars and they ignore the big elephant in the room, the project that we all know them from. So I'm glad that you go deep. You talk about your first impressions, your casting, your fallout with Siggy, of course, which was huge. You give us amazing insight into what it's like to be at Watch What Happens Live and to film a reunion, and, the friendship fallout with Danielle, the pool push, the ponytail pull, all of that super duper good. But you just came off just yesterday a really big Housewives moment. So is there any tea you can give us about this? Just us friends.
Just us in this room. No one better call anybody.
No one better call anyone. Any tea you can give us about the Real Housewives of New Jersey reunion, which you filmed just yesterday?
Yes, I filmed the reunion yesterday. It was explosive. There was obviously I was fighting with Jennifer. Shocker.
Shocker.
There is a surprise guest.
Oh.
I will say there's a surprise guest.
I'm racking my brain to think who it could be. Was it Bolo from Atlanta?
No. There's a great surprise guest. I think, Teresa and Jackie are fighting. All the husbands are out there. Obviously, my husband was in the hot seat, but we cleared everything up. But I think,
love resolution. Resolution.
Yeah, I think we cleared stuff up. I think we can move forward for next year. I'm trying to think what other gossip. The set actually looked beautiful. I'm trying to think. Don't tell anybody in this room. We all wore white. The theme was white.
Oh, gorgeous.
Which everybody looked really, really good. Everybody had dress drama ahead of time. No one's dress came in on time. So everyone had last minute changes. And
was your hair like this?
I didn't sit next to Andy. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh.
And I have the list, but you know what? They had to mix it up because you have to sit across from the person you're fighting with.
Right. That makes sense. Was your hair like this?
My hair was like this, but shorter. I had a weave on.
I can't wait to see. I'm gagged. We'll see probably next week is usually when they release the photos. So I can't wait.
So they're going to release the photos next week.
Oh, I can't wait to see. That's exciting. When you go in between seasons, is it important to have that resolution from last year? Or is it okay if there are some lingering issues?
I don't care. It doesn't bother me if there's lingering issues. I think even if we have resolution, you can't unhear certain things.
Right.
And I think that's what the issue is. And I think going into the next season, there's always a little something like I really can move on from almost anything. Right. Almost anything. I mean, that hair pull.
Can't move on from that.
A physical assault I could not move on from.
No, for sure. When's the last time you heard from her?
I mean, people hear from her every single week. She does a review on the show every single week, Danielle.
Right. She quit the show saying she'll never go back and then went to Instagram.
Yeah, exactly. It's actually comical. It's actually very, very funny. People send me the excerpts. She says she weighs in on her opinions. It's very, very entertaining.
But you stole her couch, which
oh yes. By the way, that came up at the reunion as well. Someone commented, "Oh, well, Danielle says all these things about you on Instagram." And I said, well, the woman's a pathological liar. She said she was going to buy the house and everything else. And meanwhile, I bought, a sofa at a fire, when they were selling at a fire sale at her house. I felt a little guilty about it, but I can't resist a bargain. I reupholstered it. By the way, the only reason I want to say, I didn't have to go out of my way. She lived in my town.
Right.
Her and Marty.
It was close.
It was close by.
And
Teresa really asked me to get her something there also. She wanted this one painting, this love painting, but it already had sold.
See, could have been more than one. I will say it's a great couch and you did a good job reupholstering it.
Thank you. It was.
I'm curious, is there, I want to just kind of break the myth because I talk to a lot of housewives. I hear the housewives stories all the time.
Thank you. Someone said they're not listening to Danielle. Exactly. I'm blocked. I only hear if someone says it to me.
Well, I hear all the time that producers are whispering in your ears. They're telling you what to say. They're, planting storylines. Tell us how it really works. Is that any of that true?
No. They, in the beginning of the season, I'll just say, they want to know what's going on in your life. Mm-hmm. And they really want to know what's authentically going on in your life for the season. And that's how a trip gets planned, whatever. It's just very, very simple that way. They are not planting things. No one planted it in Teresa's ear to say, oh, you say this about Evan, he's cheating. Believe me, no one is producers aren't looking to ruin someone's life. Yes, will we have to reshoot something if they miss something, like I was called out because my nails changed color in a scene and they reshot something. Yes, I was crying uncontrollably and I didn't get everything out to make it clear for the viewers of what I was trying to say. So they had me reshoot one thing to re-say it. Yes, you'll have a little bit of a redo. So that's very normal in reality TV. Right. But as opposed to them whispering in my ear, say this, say that, that's not the case. They're not making up stories for you. It's what's really going on in your real life.
I mean, it would be great if they did, I bet.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot easier and less painful.
I wish that would be so much simpler.
Yes, so much simpler. But you know what it is though? It does get edited down. A week of filming is one episode. I think that's very easy, unless you go on a trip and you could get more than an episode out of it, because then you're filming the entire, like basically almost 24 hours. They get you waking up at the crack of dawn and going to sleep at 1 a.m. So you're literally, they just don't get you for a few hours while you're sleeping, and you could get so much more content out of that.
And what's the timing from here on out? Like, when will you possibly know if the show is coming back, if you're coming back, if like when you will start filming again? Do they tell you?
I mean, I feel like we'll start filming again soon, because we just finished Reunion. I think our season will air, and maybe after we stop airing, right after we stop airing. I have faith that, I think Jersey is such a strong cast that we're so good together that all of us will come back and we'll add some people.
My secret that I'll tell you, you don't know this yet, but I've had some high level conversations with some Bravo executives, and they have all told me that they have such confidence in this cast. It's the reason why they've kept them for 3 years unchanged, and the reason why you will likely stay intact moving forward too. So
yes, I agree. Thank you. Yes, I think we would totally stay intact. I think we're friends outside filming. I think some other casts really aren't. We actually care about each other, hate each other, love each other at all different times. But if truthfully, we band together a lot for different things, and we are a great cast because we are friends, and the husbands are all very, very close.
But now, one last question, and then we'll turn it over to the audience.
Oh, I'm excited.
Now that you've written this book and you've really opened up about all these things going on in your life, is there more that you haven't told us that we'll see kind of moving forward in the show that you're comfortable with now talking about?
I feel like I revealed so much in this book. I don't know. I think I would love to do a mother-daughter book with Marge Sr. if I was to do another book. Mother-daughter relationships are so complicated.
Yeah.
And I think her and I have figured out a great formula, because when you do read this book, you will see I could have easily not spoken to Marge Sr. again. I could have harbored resentment. It's the way Marge Sr. handled it. She's an amazing grandmother. She's an amazing mother now. It's about forgiveness. It's about moving forward, making amends, not focusing on the past, validation. There's so many different things. And mother-daughter relationships are beautiful, but the most complicated relationships. And I think we could do a great book together. And I would love to do something like that. So I think that's something more that I would do outside the show that we would do together. But, I'm still always going to be a hustler. I'm big with everybody has to have goals at any age. It's a reason to wake up in the morning. So Lexi and I are definitely doing a business together right now, currently, mocktails. Because Dave, I don't drink.
Either do I.
You don't drink. I like a grown-up drink to have when I go out. I'm sick of ordering iced tea. So we'll be doing our Dr. Jessica, thank you. She doesn't drink. I'd like to have a grown-up drink, like a grown-up mocktail sparkling little kind of drink, but I don't want a flavored water. I don't want too much sparkle. So it's called Soiree. Party like a rock star, wake up like a superstar. We're just getting all the flavor profiles done as we speak.
If you need a taste tester.
Yes, by the way, we do. The next go round, the first go round was a little bit, it was too sparkly and it was too flavored water-like. So I think that was good. So we're working on that. Yes. And mentoring young women in our town. We do that. We work at the Women's Center, and I think that's important.
Well, consider you have your first copy of your second book pre-ordered. I am ready to get it.
Thank you.
And I wish you all the luck with it. Ginny, I know you're going to come in here and help transition us to these audience Q&As.
Yes,
I also want to say hi from this little pooch who's been on my lap all day.
Oh my God, Peanut.
Little Peanut. Hey, Bubba.
Aw.
So
That's my
jump
favorite
on.
part of Zoom events, I've got to say, is that everybody's like, look, here's my pet.
I love that. I know Bella. Where's Bella? She's hanging out somewhere.
That's fantastic. Well, thank you so much for that. And Margaret, it sounds like a book with your mother would be amazing. From the response of the fans here, gosh, I hope that we can be back at in-person events when that happens, because I think a lot of people would love to meet both of you. Yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Together, that sounds fantastic. So, okay, a couple of questions here going a little bit further back in the chat is, how did you get cast on Real Housewives? And do you have any regrets about any of that?
No, I say the story that they had come to me in season 6, actually. And I already was slated to do a show with Joe called Pigtails and Power Tools. And I couldn't get out of my contract, so I couldn't do it in season 6. By the time they came back to me in season 8, I was ready to go, had a lawsuit, took a setback. My kids were out of the house, and I was like, all right, Joe, we might as well just do it. We had just moved into the current house we're in, literally a few weeks prior to that. And they had come back to me within 2 weeks. They were like, you're the new housewife. I was like, okay.
Wow.
And it worked out perfectly. Yes.
That's awesome. So no
regrets whatsoever.
Right. That was my guess on what that answer was going to be. I think Dave, that was coming. A question from, is it Samaj? I hope I'm pronouncing that properly.
Yes, Samaj.
Yes.
Samaj.
When did you realize you were a fashionista?
Oh, 4 years, little girl, 4 years old. I was already picking out my bathing suits. I had to wear special sunglasses. I was very particular with the outfits at a very young age.
Awesome. Where do you find the amazing guests for your very useful, valuable, and resourceful podcast?
Thank you. We do a lot of research. Anybody that I find interesting, from all different fields, and my team is also very good at researching. Some of the people they find out about or that they find interesting. So every walk of life, we find them everywhere. And they don't have to be the most famous person. Anybody who is following their dream, we love to have on.
That's awesome. Darylyn asks if you could tell us a little bit more about your choice to keep your biological son off of the show.
Yes, my children, all adult, when I went on the show, my biological son has a very serious job, very private person. He doesn't even have social media, and it was not my choice. It was his choice. He was like, this isn't for me. And I said, fine, this is my life choice and to be on the show. So it wasn't my decision. It was their decision, his decision.
Right. Well, and I was reading a little bit that you had said how you, that your parenting advice would be don't squash your children's dreams. And that feels very in line with your.
Yes, I couldn't, you know what? It's not for me to decide what my children want to do.
Yeah. Awesome. What is your favorite way to eat caviar?
Oh, this is so good. And I know Pat Atchell from Southern Charm also, on potato chips with creme fraiche. I actually ate it this morning. So it was so funny because it was after the reunion and Lexi came over this morning. I was in my bathroom. I was like, this is what I'm doing. Because I just want to shout out to Black Diamond Caviar, who had sent it to us, who is so great. And he sent me a thing of it for a reunion, a big thing of caviar. So Lexi and I opened up Ruffles potato chips. We had creme fraiche, and stuck in the creme fraiche and put the caviar on it.
That's amazing. I think Dave's head just exploded when you said that.
I know, Dave Quinn.
I don't eat caviar, but that's interesting. And I'm curious, is it the ruffles with the ridges or?
Yeah, you have to have the ridges. You have to have the ridges.
I
know. Dave's a vegetarian. So
me too, Dave.
But it's an important follow-up. I always like to know what the details are. Like, for example, if you ever make that onion dip, you need the ridges.
Oh, it's all about the texture.
It's the texture. It was so good.
Otherwise, it's just like a flat wafer, right? Yeah. No, I'm Well, and actually, I wanted to let everybody know that there's actually going to be a giveaway of a caviar gift package to an attendee tonight.
Yes.
So we're going to pick a random winner.
There's actually 3 gift packages.
Oh my gosh, how exciting. Okay, we'll pick 3 winners later on, and we'll get you guys caviar gift packages direct from Margaret's Favorite Things, which is fantastic.
You always step it up, Margaret. You always step it up.
That's amazing. Okay. Let's see. From Dr. Jessica, have you done any therapy with your mother?
Yes, we did therapy years ago. I just felt, I needed to be validated. I needed to be heard. I thought it was very important that we go to therapy together. And she was on board for it. Mark Singer, she just goes along with all my, whatever I need to do to feel better. And listen, that's not saying we don't have some issues now, but we work right through it much easier than we did years ago.
Where do you think she got that carefree attitude from?
Where do I think she got that carefree attitude?
Yes.
From? Probably cocktailing it up. No, you know what it is? I think Marge Sr. truly she's dealt with a lot of pain. She's a Hungarian immigrant, went across the border into Austria, left everything she ever knew behind, got on an airplane to the United States with her parents. Her brother stayed in Hungary because he was already married. And literally just knew no one, and landed on Christmas Eve, and Eisenhower gave her a doll that day, and really just couldn't speak English and just had a very rough childhood. I think she learned to compartmentalize any pain growing up. And I think she was just like, you know what, I'm not going to think about it and not think about anything bad. And she just wanted to have a bon vivant life. After that, she's like, I went through so much. I just want to be a good time girl.
Sure.
And I think that's really what it was.
Yeah. And when did she come here? What year did you say?
56.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you learned English. I think you said you learned it back when you were in kindergarten, right?
Yeah, right before I went to kindergarten. And
okay.
Best like Magyarul, yes.
You still know you're Hungarian.
I
That's what somebody was asking. Dave is all about that. I love it.
Threw that out there. She's like,
no. That means I still speak Hungarian. But I've lost a lot of it. Truthfully, I really should take a class. That's what I should be doing next season on the show. Brush up on Hungarian.
Does your mother still speak it as well?
My mother still speaks it as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. Lots of love for Joe.
Thank you.
And this is a good question. How are you able to forgive the other women on the show? This says Teresa, exclamation point, question mark.
It's so funny. Someone wrote into that yesterday at the reunion. They're like, I can't believe it. You know what? If I think someone's truly sorry, and I know Teresa, and everyone's like, she's this, she's that. She was truly sorry. I know her face when she's sorry, and I know when she's full of shit. And she was sorry. And I said to her, are you sorry that you got caught, or are you sorry you did it? And I saw she was sorry. And every single time I saw her, she told me she could not watch the episode after that. Every time she sees it, and she had tears in her eyes. And I know when she's sorry, and I know when she's dialing it in. I know her face. Like I even said to Jackie yesterday, I said, don't worry about this reunion. I know when she's sorry. And I thought, like I said to her, I know when her apology is weak. I could just tell. And she was genuine about it. And I was like, if someone's truly genuine, I have to forgive them.
Did you ever get an apology from Steve and Dan?
I did.
See?
I did. I got apologies from Steve and Dan. He's texted me recently. He would love to donate to my charity. He would love to donate to things that I do. And you know, and he wants to have a conversation about it. I just haven't had a chance to have it with him. And, you know, things happen, and it was very bad, but she's the one who did the act. You could tell someone to, you know, jump off a bridge and do this and do that, but she ultimately was responsible. And I know Teresa, she thought Danielle was going to come over and give me like a little, like a pulling of a little hair, like a little girl. She didn't think she was going to drag me across.
What is the greatest piece of advice you've ever received, both in your career and your personal life?
I do think it's one of the things, and I say it in the book, and it's from Joan Rivers. And I feel like I give this. Always be your authentic self. That's definitely one of the most, always be your authentic self. Don't ever change, and just be true to yourself. And the other thing is always be humble. You have to stay humble in life all the time, because it just doesn't matter. It's like, I am so grateful, and I'm always humble. I don't care who it is. I treat them exactly the same. I don't think I'm better than anyone. I don't think anybody's better than me, be it the person who delivers my food at the table in the diner. If it was the president of the United States, not this, the last one, I'm not getting into any politics, but I'm just, okay, maybe that's different, you know, but if it was, I would treat them with the same amount of respect. I love to meet every different type of person in every walk of life. And I just treat everybody the same. And I think you have to remain humble in life. And I think a lot of people forget that when they get to a certain level. And I find it's just not a nice quality.
And I have to say, just as a impartial viewer in this situation, like, she is that person in real life. I'm completely validating who she is. Like, I have walked through
Thanks, baby.
casinos with you, Margaret, and people come up to you and you treat everybody the same with kindness and love and respect. And I think it's why you're so beloved by audiences. And I think it's why you have continued to thrive in this environment. Because
Oh,
I can tell
thank you.
what, a lot of people, I've talked to all the housewives, you guys, a lot of people are not like that.
Thank you. Thank you.
You are.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. This is a great question. What is a past New Jersey cast member you would like to return and why?
I've said this before. I think I would take Caroline Manzo back. I would definitely take Caroline Manzo back. I think her and Teresa have a lot to put behind them. I think she and I would get along amazingly well. I think she's very stable. And this is the, then I won't be the oldest on the show.
And
Dave has thoughts about that. I can tell.
Oh no, it's the best idea, and it would put Dolores in a really tough position. So
Dolores, I know, because she's very close with Caroline. It is true. Dolores is very close with Caroline
and close with Teresa, so she'd have to
it's true.
Probably make a choice in some areas. It's good. That would be real good. If I was in control of the network, I'd give Bravo all the money to do that. Caroline all the money to
make it happen, Bravo. Can we come on now? Bethany says, who's your closest friend on the show now?
It's funny, I'm close to a lot of girls. I'm very close with Dolores. I'm very close with Melissa. People don't realize Dolores and I talk on the phone every day. Couples close. I'm very close with Melissa and Joe. And I'm also very close with Jackie. I feel like those are my three women who I'm very close with. And I have different relationships with them all. Melissa and I very much bond over business, and we're very, as couples, we're very close and we've had very intimate discussion. Dolores and I are like regular girlfriends. We're always gossiping, calling each other every day. And Jackie and I feel like I'm her big sister. So it's like I have very unique relationships with all of them.
And you're also very close with Siggy Flicker. You guys.
Oh yeah. Not. To me, she's a stain on New Jersey, truthfully. I need her to move. And that's not even being mean. I mean, that's just, and this is, everybody will probably be shocked that I would say that. I would take Danielle back before I take Siggy back. Because Danielle and I really did have a real friendship at one point. And it was very, I felt sorry for her. I felt sad for her. I feel like I still, even though she says horrible things about me and did horrible things to me, she's a damaged person and it's sad and she has pain and she's suffering. Siggy's to me was pure evil. Anybody who would call me an anti-Semite and say those things, knowing that I was married to someone Jewish, I raised Jewish children, I belonged to a temple, knowing what I said, that's just like pure evil. I want nothing to do with that.
Okay.
All right. I said it, Ginny.
Go ahead. Yes.
Get it out, Marge.
We'll never hold back.
Absolutely. This is a fun question. What were the rejected runner-up book titles?
I'm sorry?
The rejected titles for your book. Were there any?
Oh, I mean, I came up with that title. Simon Schuster loved it. It was like no even rejected titles. But Andy Cohen came up with a bunch the other night, which was A Margin Men, a memoir. Pigtails. What did it say? What was the other one, Lexi? Something about something you're in the pool. What did it say? You're something. He came up with 5 titles that were absolutely hysterical, but I didn't come up with anything else. I was like, it's Caviar Dreams, Tuna Fish Budget. Like I didn't even think of anything else. And Simon Schuster loved it, and I was thrilled.
Well, it certainly stands out on the shelf. I can tell you that as a bookseller.
Thank you.
Something else like it. I love it. Okay, so love your drop-ins on Club Bravo on Clubhouse. What do you love about this new social media format?
Oh my God, it was so funny. When it first came out, I was like, what is this? I can't be involved in something else. I'm like, I'm already on, me, I call everything the, right? I put a the in front of it. I'm on the Instagram. I do Twitter. I'm like, I'm barely on Facebook anymore. I'm like, do I have to do, I did not pick up TikTok, even though my girls in my office always named me, do more TikTok, Marcus. I love this new thing, reels on Instagram. I'm great at my reels, but I was just like, if I have to do one more thing, it is so fabulous, this Clubhouse thing. I am obsessed with it because it's so informative. Everybody's talking. It's like a sophisticated TED Talk that you just drop in on. and people talk. It's amazing. It has Bravo things. I could drop in on like Dame and John from Shark Tank. You could learn business. You could learn pop culture. Dave hosts things constantly, right? The Bravo State of the Union. It's so amazing, right?
Yeah, it's super fun, and you're great on it. You're perfect for it because
Thank you.
you're so personable and you're honest and you're so vulnerable and authentic. It really works well.
No, I just really love it. And I love like dropping in. Sometimes I accidentally turn on though on my phone, and I'll be like talking. I'm like, oh my God, I'm on Clubhouse. It's just that accidentally the app clicks on. I have a nervous breakdown. But otherwise, I just think it was such a great idea.
Awesome. Yeah, so I think you've convinced some people now. We got to watch that.
Yeah, no, you can't watch it. It's only listening. It's only audio, so you don't have to look good. So don't worry. That's the other thing. It's like you just listen. You could look like shit and listen.
That's good. From someone who spends a lot of hours on Zoom all day, I can understand the appeal of that for sure.
Yeah, that's what it is. I'm in my pajamas, no makeup on. No one knows.
Right. Fantastic. One last question here. What was the toughest part of getting used to filming?
What was the toughest part of getting used to filming? I'm trying to think. I felt like it didn't faze me that much that the cameras were all around. Just, I'm trying to think. Oh, Lexi said, rescheduling my calendar. That was it. Rescheduling my calendar. I think it's shocking to people how long filming really takes. And you film 5 days a week. It's not like one day here, one day there. It's 5 days a week for 4 months straight. And you're only off on a Sunday and a Monday. Our film schedules, you're off on a Sunday and a Monday. And the time commitment, having a business, thank God I have a team, an amazing, capable team. But the time commitment, and I am not a morning person. I'm just going to say it right now. I always had an office in my house. So I think it was the time commitment of being on a schedule that's like that. But by the way, Housewives, notoriously late. And I'm normally notoriously 10 minutes late. They call me OTM, on time Marge. And I've never in my life been called on time Marge. I am notoriously late, but these girls make me look on time. So they actually make me look good.
There you go. Well, I think, as you said, if you're just an authentic, your authentic self, then having reality TV filming, you don't have to do anything differently. If you're
I don't even do anything differently.
Right.
Lexi, can you come say hi to us for a second?
Yes, Lexi. Lexi's here with me. So if anybody
does not look cute tonight at
just
all.
wave.
Hi, everyone.
I know. Lexi's
so
great.
Hi,
oh my God, this
Friday.
was so great. I'm so grateful that everyone joined me on a Friday night.
And Marge,
a copy of the book, and Dave and
you
Ginny.
you write a lot about Lexi in the book too. So I'm
Yes.
so glad that viewers will get to hear that.
Yes.
Jenny, do you mind if I ask? There's one question that someone asked that I'm interested in knowing.
Oh, absolutely. I'm sorry.
Okay.
This one, yeah.
And it's, if you could go back and change anything, would there be anything you would change, and what would it be? It seems that Vina asked that.
Vina. Anything in my life. I just want to say Vina. I write about a Vina in my book. I had a best friend, Vina, growing up. A very close friend, Vina, who lived next door to me, who was adorable, by the way. I just love that name. Yay.
Beautiful name.
Yeah, it's a beautiful name. We lived next door to them, and her family was so good to me. So anyway, is there one thing? I mean, in Housewives, very superficial thing I would change. Some of my outfits and my looks, the pigtail extensions. That was a given. I never wore pigtail extensions, and I look like a psycho case when they made me put them on.
Julius misstep for sure.
Julius misstep, but I think they forced him into it. They want you so over the top. I was like, I never wore pigtail extensions in my life. I always had short hair. So I'm not one with extensions down to my vagina. Not something I'm doing. So that's a given. But the other thing in my real life, not my TV life of looks. And, that is my real life, but that's the second half. If I go back into my life, two things I would change. I would have probably went to medical school. And I know that sounds crazy, but even though I love fashion and everything so much, I'm a hypochondriac. I diagnose everybody. And I feel like if my mother would have pushed me, not blaming Mark Sr., but I literally never did homework. You'll read in the book. I thought I should be rewarded for doing amazing on tests and never doing homework. So I wasn't really a great student. I did great in school, but I wasn't a great student. I should have pushed myself more. So I would have gone to medical school. That's one thing. And I could have been like a TV doctor. Clay went on TV. And then, and then the other thing is the way my marriage unraveled, I did let it go on too long. And I would have had the strength to leave earlier. I would have changed that.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, that feels like a very touching moment to
Yes.
wrap up on. But I love that there are no regrets. There are just things you would have modified a little bit. I think that's a really healthy way to live. So thank you for sharing
Yes.
that advice with all
Thank
of us.
you. Thank you.
I want to, I picked some random names from the list of attendees. If we want to give away some Caviar sets, does that sound like a good idea?
Yes. I
Yes.
have to do a shout out to Aaron Stewart that he came on today, because Aaron Stewart and Fernando, they're on here, I know, and some people I know on here. So
Oh, good. That's
I know
lovely.
some, and Samaj, so sweet, and Dr. Jessica Mack, I know her. I know like some of these people, very big supporters of the Marge. I'm very lucky. And not saying that everybody else isn't, because you're very big supporters, but just I recognize those names. And
Yes.
Aaron Stewart, truthfully, I was just away with him on vacation.
Amazing.
Thank you,
amazing.
Aaron Stewart.
Aw. All right. Well, we have three: Bethany and Rita and Dara Lynn. You are all three our winners tonight. So thank you so much, Marge, for your team
Thank
for
you.
providing those gift sets. I will reach out to the three of you and we'll get your sets coordinated over to you. So that's a really fun way to end the evening as well. But Dave, you've got the book in front of you. You are ready to like do my job here.
I love it so much.
Yay! Well, thank you all of you for joining us tonight, I should say. And thank you to Dave and Marge for spending this time with us. We really appreciate it. And I know the support of the book is always appreciated from the author. Dave, we can't wait to read yours. We'll have to be in touch.
Yes, we will.
Oh, that's going to be killer.
Yes.
This is killer.
For those of you, so you've got signed books on their way, either ready for pickup early next week, or we'll send you an email when they're ready to ship out to you, and you'll get that signed book in your hands and all ready to read. I know you're all going to enjoy it very much. So thank you guys. This has been a really fun way to spend a Friday night.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for spending your Friday night with me. And I hope you all love the book. And I can't wait to hear your thoughts. Thank you, Ginny. Dave, thank you. Dave, you and Gus, big dinner. You know that.
We're coming over. Thank you for everything.
And going out.
Oh, fantastic. Well, best of luck with the book, and can't wait to see what happens next, right?
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, everybody.
Right. Stay safe, everybody.
Dave and Terry, Jesus, Dave Carger, I just saw you in the corner. Dave and Terry, I love you.
Oh, I love that there's people that you know on here. That
Oh
makes
my
it so much
God.
fun. Yes. Awesome.
Marissa,
awesome.
hi. Oh, there's so many great people.
There's
Thank
so
you,
many
guys.
good people in here. Jesus, I'm not reading everything. My eyes are all over the screen.
Yes.
Thank
awesome.
you.
All right,
Thanks.
stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
Dave and Terry. We got to visit Dave and Terry. You know, everybody. Bye.
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 Good night. Bye.
Good night.